So welcome to our What's New in ExactFlat webinar. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. If you can't, let us know. So let's get started. So our agenda today is we'll cover some quick introductions. Why would you select ExactFlat? A quick overview about Javelin Technologies and why you'd like to do business with us. A real quick overview about what is ExactFlat, and an overview of the workflow, which is a demonstration, which we're all here to see today, and then we'll have a quick wrap-up. Should take us to around half an hour to 45 minutes max, just to give you an idea about what's going on. And so let's get started. So today we have doing our presentation Scott Ellery. He's the applications engineer for Javelin Technology. I'm the sales manager. My name is Chris Solmers, and I'd be happy to look after any questions you may have after the webinar. So why would you look at ExactFlat? For anybody that's creating complex patterns, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of time to create complex patterns, and this tool is used exclusively to reduce that time. Usually in dramatic cases, up to 60 or 70% of the time you use to create patterns can be achieved with this tool. Also, material utilization is important. So along with creating the patterns, we can actually achieve maximum material utilization to save you money on the shop floor, and really achieve the goals you want to do to save your overall costs on material usage. We can also streamline manufacturing. So you'll see in a couple of slides that the tool actually takes the place of 3 or 4 different pieces of the software to actually reduce your engineering process. And of course, you know, developing prototypes is always tough. With ExactFlat, you can get it right the first time, and that's a big statement. You know, instead of using the drape and tape method, this stuff works really well. So just a little bit about Javelin Technology. We were founded in 1997. That puts us at almost 20 years old. We provide ExactFlat training, support, and sales across North America and Europe. We have over 90 people on staff, and probably over 1/3 of those are engineers. So along with that, we have hundreds of certifications inside of SOLIDWORKS and ExactFlat. So our folks are very qualified to support and answer the questions and give you the training that you need to be successful. So to know Javelin Technologies is our goal is to really help you focus on your business. And the way we do that is really in a number of different aspects. We really dig in to understand your business because it's all about the process. And once we have the process figured out, we can figure out exactly what to deliver to make your business better. So in that way, we can improve your people with training, and mentoring. We can equip your business with the latest 3D technology, which would be products like ExactFlat, and really help you to define the process. Because once we help you with the process, it's usually very customer specific. This is really where we streamline that engineering process, and introduce you to new innovative manufacturing techniques, things like rapid prototyping and you know, other types of manufacturing process that we have available to us. So what is ExactFlat? ExactFlat is a bundled-based software that, with the core engine, is SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a world-class, has a world-class user interface, and it's a de facto standard for creating 3D models. ExactFlat has chosen SolidWorks to base this upon because it's so popular and because it just is so powerful and easy to use. So it's just a natural fit with ExactFlat. So more about streamlining your process. You know, at the front end we have SOLIDWORKS that manages the design, and it can accept file formats from every major mechanical engineering package on the planet. And then from there, the rest of it is managed by ExactFlat. So between the two pieces in this bundled software, you can design, flatten, pattern, nest, and cost, and document the process inside this package. So where it may have taken you 3 or 4 different softwares before, we can do it all inside our bundled software. At a high level, what does ExactFlat include? First of all, it's a fully integrated SOLIDWORKS Gold partner, so it has one integrated user interface. It has advanced flattening calculations based on finite element analysis. So this is based on real scientific approach to flattening your designs. All right, and with this, it allows designers to get insight on the designs they never had before on why it's flattening and the way it is, and where the built-up stress and compression is, so they can make better engineering decisions. It also has an SQL database for a library of material and hardware and other pieces that you'd want to put in there. All right. So another interesting aspect of ExactFlat is we work with virtually any cutter on the planet. And you see the popular ones listed on the right-hand side. Really, any cutter that accepts a DXF file we'll work with, and we have the tools to optimize that output to virtually any cutter. It comes right inside of ExactFlat. So let's go ahead and see what's new in ExactFlat, and with that, we'll make Scotty the presenter, and we'll take this over.
Perfect. I think I can actually grab it from here. Hold on.
Okay, great.
So,
oh, there you go.
You can see my screen? Perfect.
I can.
All right. That means everybody can see my screen. Awesome. All right. So, today we're going to be utilizing ExactFlat 2017 as well as some of the power and new enhancements in SOLIDWORKS 2017. So just to kind of go over the ExactFlat process, how does it work? It's a very straightforward and easy process. Here I have a headrest that maybe I want to flatten out because I want to put this together with some fabric. So to start the ExactFlat process, one, it runs right inside of the SOLIDWORKS environment. And I can just go ahead and start by creating my pieces. So here, essentially, I'm just going to select faces to create into pieces. And I could do this manually. I can also utilize some of the techniques in SOLIDWORKS, like selection sets, to be able to quickly, in this case, select my front piece, select my right side, my top piece, and my left piece, just to make things a lot faster. And you can do this during the design process as well and save those selections. And you can see as I start creating pieces, my faces go transparent. So I know what I've already selected, so I don't accidentally double select something. So here I've got 4 pieces, which is all fully customizable. I can go ahead and hit OK. And the next part of the process is to convert this to an ExactFlat part, meaning that it's going to analyze the geometry that I've selected for my pieces, and it's going to go through kind of a pre-mesh setting so that it can prepare itself for flattening. So in this case, maybe I want to do this in, let's do leather for a high-end headrest, right? So you'll notice that it's color-coded right in our graphics window. So this is great if we're using multiple types of materials. In this case, we're using 1, but maybe we want to use 2 or 3 different materials. We can easily color code those, see which materials we've applied to which pieces to make sure that we've applied them in the correct areas. So the next step, again, we're just moving from left to right. So we've created the pieces, converted. Now we just want to go to our flattener. Okay. So with our flattener, we get a full 3D representation of our part as well as what the flat pieces look like. Okay. So what we can do is we can go ahead and mesh this part. And that looks pretty good. We also have things like adaptive remeshes where it will go through and actually analyze it part by part. But for this particular one, I think we're going to stick with a mesh. So, these are these are looking fairly good. Some of them are a little bit interesting, but that's why we've got this optimization process. So once I hit this button, what this is actually going to do, it's going to go through and it's going to solve all of the mesh triangles to try and relieve as much energy as possible. So it's going to try and get rid of any stress, any strain, any sag, any stretch, and it's going to go through and it's going to optimize those pieces. So you can see we've already completed the optimization on a couple of these parts. I can go through one at a time if I want to, or I can see multiples at a time just by multi-selecting. Right. So it is very smart. It's using some proprietary flattening techniques from ExactFlat, again, as well as that finite element analysis. So once our flattening is complete, we can go ahead and accept that. It's going to update our flat patterns with the optimized pieces. And what we can do now is we can actually view our patterns. Okay, so this is what our flat pieces look like, and we can move them anywhere we want. In fact, we can align them as well. So maybe I want to start with this piece. Maybe that's my bottom edge, right? And maybe I want to use the find feature. And here, this is great because I don't have to remember which piece goes where. I can just select the edge, and the piece is automatically going to pop into place, right? So I can easily organize my pattern. And actually, you know what? Let's make them a little bit farther away than that. Let's do 5 inches, just so we can allow for some seams here. So a great enhancement inside of ExactFlat for 2017 is that we now have edge labels for both seams and hems. So with previous versions of ExactFlat, we could only have one edge label for both seams and hems, and now it's actually been split out. So if I go into my ExactFlat options under my pattern, you can see now we have the auto creation of hem labels, and actually we've got many of them. We've got auto creation of edge labels, hem labels. If you use bound edges, you can do them as well as raw edges also. So this is really important, because if we go through and start adding in seams for material allowance, maybe we want to put in a seam over here. So seaming in ExactFlat is very easy. All we do is grab an edge and start a seam, right? And you can see it's automatically grabbing the mating edge for me. I don't have to remember to do that. So it's really doing twice the work in one step, right? So I'm going to apply a seam on there, and you can see I've got my edge label. So maybe here I want to show, in this case, this is piece 4, and it attaches to piece 1. So this would be for the worker on the floor that's putting this together, right? And of course I can specify where my notchings are going to be. In this case, maybe I want my notches to be a specific count. Maybe we'll do 3 notches, just to make sure everything lines up well. But when I do a hem, maybe I do, a hem doesn't actually attach to another piece. So I don't necessarily need a piece count, because I don't really care what piece it is. But maybe I want whoever is putting this together to know what kind of hem it is. Maybe I've got different hem sizes that I use. So what I can do with that is I can go ahead and start a hem. And maybe, this is going to be a hem up here. When I click on it, you can see now we can do different edge labels. So this one I have just off of center, just showing what kind of hem it is. In this case, it's a 1/2 inch hem. And I can have multiple different types of hems as well. But in this case, I just default to a 1/2. So that's a really powerful new enhancement in ExactFlat. Let's actually open a different model up. We're going to open up, in this case, an insulation elbow. So this would be insulation that we would put around piping. And with this, we can actually utilize some of the great new features in SOLIDWORKS 2017 that really complements ExactFlat. So again, we can go ahead and create our pieces. So maybe we'll do a couple layers this time. We'll do the outer layer, and we'll do the inner layer. Okay. Now notice in earlier versions of ExactFlat, we had the option, we still do, of either being normal or flipped. So what this means is whether we're cutting on the top of our material or cutting on the bottom of our material. Now there's been a great enhancement in ExactFlat where we can actually control that at the marker level instead of right at the beginning. So if you're not quite sure which side you want to cut on, or you prefer to work on the top side when you're designing, and then when sending out to your cutter you prefer to flip it, I'll show you that a little bit later. We can now do that in the marker view. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. So you can see we're only left with the faces that we're actually using. And let's go ahead and create an exact flat part out of this. So maybe for the outer layers, so for piece 1 and piece 2, maybe we want to make that, a high temperature material, and maybe the inside we want to make as 1-inch glass. Right? So we can go ahead and pop that in there, and you can see again we get that color coding because we've used 2 different materials. Right? So we can go ahead and go into our flattener, do a quick remesh, and we can optimize this. Right? So you can see optimize very quickly, and we get a flat pattern that would not necessarily be predictable if you're doing this without the software. So this is a huge boost in using ExactFlat, is you're going to get the right pattern the first time that's going to fit the best that it possibly can. So we can go ahead and hit OK and let it update. Perfect. So what we can do now is, of course, we could go in, we can view our flat pattern, we can move this around just like we did with the other ones. So maybe I want to make this a left edge, and maybe I want to pop this 4 inches away up here. Oh, actually it's the bottom one here. There we go there. And same thing over here, right? This is our other one, same thing. Maybe make it the left edge and pop this one down here. Okay. So kind of organized our patterns here, but let's actually go back to our model. So what we can actually do with ExactFlat is, again, it's running off that backend SQL database, which is what Chris was going over. So in this database, it's housing all of our hardware that we can utilize as well. So it's very easy for us to track that. And what that actually looks like. So if we jump into our ExactFlat database manager, notice I'm doing this while I'm still inside of SOLIDWORKS. So because it runs on a backend database, I don't need to close SOLIDWORKS to change any of these options. So if I jump into my database and I look at my hardware, right? Oh, sorry, this is my category manager. If I go to my hardware types, this is where we control all the hardware that we have in our database that we can utilize. Right? So you can put any custom hardware that you work with now with any of your patterning, whether it's grommets, hooks, Velcro, zippers, for the insulation industry, maybe hog rings, can all be housed in here with their cost and any vendors associated with them, and it can be utilized inside of the ExactFlat interface. This is also what controls all of our seams and hems. We can put in different seam types. We can do symmetrical seams. We can do non-symmetrical seams. We can have a bunch of different notching types. So all of that is controlled on the back end with the ExactFlat database manager. So let's get into some of the enhancements in SOLIDWORKS 2017 that really complements ExactFlat. So if you guys were watching our launch presentation, I hope that you were. There's some great stuff in it. And one of the new enhancements that I'm really excited about in SOLIDWORKS 2017 is the ability to offset 3D edges. So what we can do now is we can utilize that for when we go and map our hardware in 3 dimensions. So we can use the new offset on surface command, specify, maybe in this case we want to put some hog rings on the outside of our insulation. So maybe we want to put them 1/4 inch from the edge. Just like with any offset, we can make our offset construction geometry, and we can actually offset our 3D curves in 3 dimensions. So this is huge, right? So we can go, maybe we'll lock that in there, we'll pop one in there, and maybe we'll pop one on that side, right? So that in itself is a great feature, but they've enhanced our segment tool as well. So I don't know if you ever used a segment tool before. It is a great tool for doing equal points along a line, but up until 2016 and before, we could only do that on circles and straight lines. That was it. We couldn't do any kind of splines or anything like that. And now in 2017 we can. So we can go into our 3D sketch, select one, and we can do equal points. Right? So this is great. So maybe I want to have 4 hog rings along this edge. Right? It's very easy to do now. We can also pop 4 on this side as well. And our sketch is done. And we'll map that in, you know what, let's map it now. So let's go to our ExactFlat tools. We just go to hardware. We can say take that sketch that we just created, map it to this piece, because this is the piece that we're applying the hardware to, and we can just select the hardware that we want to apply. So in this case, if we go to my insulation filter, got hog rings right there. So I can hit OK. You can see that the color is good. In this case, is a yellow. We can go ahead and apply that, and those have been mapped. Okay, so let's do the same thing on the inside layer. Maybe we want to put some Velcro on the inside layer. So same kind of technique, right? So we can just go into our offset on surface. In this case, we're going to actually make it full geometry because we want to utilize that, because we want to know the length of Velcro that we're going to be using. Maybe we want to offset this one 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and just select the edges that we want the Velcro to be on, right? So maybe those two edges there, and same thing. We'll go into our hardware, select our sketch, map it to this piece this time, and just select which hardware we want to apply here. In this case, maybe we want Velcro. Right? And you can see that one goes on black. So now if we go into our pattern view, you can see it's actually marked on our pieces where that Velcro is going. And over here, it's marked on our pieces where we're going to be putting in those hog rings. So those are actually going to be on our markers. Right? So I mean, at this point in time, I could go in, again, I could add my seams in if I wanted to. Right? Maybe we want to pop a seam in here. Again, it's a very easy process. I could pop in any hems that I want to go with, but maybe we're okay with this. So maybe what we'll do is, just because I'm recording the session, let's go ahead and do a quick save. And let's pop this into our markers. Again, we'll get that to auto place. And just pop it open there. So you can see we've got two different markers because we've got two different materials, right? And again, fully dynamic. If I drag this, you can see the cost adjusts. So what we can do here, remember I mentioned at the beginning, maybe we were unsure of what we wanted to do as far as whether we want to cut from the top or cut from the bottom. So now we actually have the choice, if we go in and edit our pieces, that we can select all of our pieces and we can mirror them and change our parent multiple. So this is the mirrored piece and this is the regular piece. So all we have to do is change that to 0, and now we're only going to have mirrored pieces. So now I know when I send that out, everything's going to be flipped. So I can do that right at the end, which can save a lot of time, especially if you don't know what you want to do yet. Maybe you don't know whether we want to cut on the top or the bottom. Maybe it's material dependent. Maybe for leather we cut on the bottom and for fabric we cut on the top, what have you. So that's a great new enhancement from the marker view in ExactFlat 2017. And of course, when we're ready, we can export this out. Our export manager is going to come up and we can choose what kind of profile we want to export. Maybe Eastman or Gerber or Autometrics, but we can send that right out. That's going to send everything out on the right layer for a cutter, and then we just import that DXF right into our cutter. So that's great for getting out those patterns, but we also need to create drawings of our patterns, right? So we can take this, we can go ahead and start a new drawing from this part, and maybe we'll just do, let's do a C size, why not? And we can just, like any other drawing, drag in our view. Right? From inside of our drawing, we can control what's displayed. Maybe we don't want to show the notch symbols. Maybe we want to show this a little bit bigger. Maybe we try 1 to 5. That might be a little bit too big. Let's go with the 1 to 8, maybe. That looks good. And of course, we have a ton of ExactFlat drawing tools to quickly allow us to get a quick drawing out. So we can do things like do a quick piece call out, right? So maybe I want to know which piece is which, right? So I can pop those in there. I can do material call outs. So maybe this, because that's our high temperature material and that's our glass material. Right? So all of these custom properties built right into ExactFlat, again, working off that back end, can save us a lot of time. We can also put in a lot of costing information as well. You noticed, remember we put in Velcro, we put in some hog rings, right? Those have costs associated with them. So when we put in things like a hardware table, it's going to give us the quantity. Oh, and actually, you know, let's put in the actual cost table. And let's have it come in on different. Oh, whoopsie. Right. So it's got cost per unit, total cost, and how many we're using. So you'll notice that for the hog rings, it has the number of units, and for the Velcro, it's got the total length, so we know exactly how much we need to use in this particular pattern. We can also do things like material utilization. So we know how much material we're going to use on the marker itself, but maybe we want to see how much material is being used on this actual marker. So on both different markers, we can see how many, in this case, square inches of material we're using for both of these patterns. So some very powerful analytics, as well as costing information, and getting you right from that design straight through to documentation and to your cutter. And of course, we can still utilize things like our dimensioning. Maybe we want to know, what that dimension is, right? Or maybe we want the overall from these 2 points, right? So we can very easily add in those dimensions as well, so that workers on the floor have exactly the information that they need to put these things together. So that's the entire process, front to back, for ExactFlat. It's a very easy, straightforward process to get the exact, really the exact flat pattern of your design. So whether whether it's automotive, marine, anywhere where you need to use any kind of textile or fabric, ExactFlat can help out. So it's a great software, incredibly powerful, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing it today.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. We have a question posted in our question part of the webinar part, and it says, is ExactFlat coming with SOLIDWORKS Pro? And ExactFlat is a separate piece of software, so you would buy SOLIDWORKS separately, and or you can buy it from us directly, SOLIDWORKS and ExactFlat together. So ExactFlat requires SOLIDWORKS to run. Any version of SOLIDWORKS will run ExactFlat.
Yes, yeah, and yeah. So to clarify, ExactFlat is a gold partner or a partner program to SOLIDWORKS. So it is extending the capabilities of SOLIDWORKS, but it is a purchased add-on. Now we also have another question here. It says dumb question, but it's not a dumb question. There's no dumb questions. Is ExactFlat primarily intended for fabrics like those used in car seats? Not necessarily. It is. There's a number of different industries that we're in with ExactFlat. We do textiles, fabrics. We do composites for things like we're actually very aggressively expanding into composite bikes, like carbon fiber bikes. Anything with layering, anything that needs to be unwrapped. Marine. There's a huge. We're doing fiberglass boat hulls, as well as boat covers. The pool industry with pool liners and pool covers. So there is tons and tons and tons of different applications. Anywhere where you're using any kind of material that needs to be unwrapped and fit, ExactFlat can do the job.
Yeah. Also, to Scott's point, it doesn't have to be per se a textile. It could be like a vinyl or a nonlinear product like rubber or silicone. So as long as you have the material properties, we can flatten virtually any shape and any kind of material. So it works very well, for those kind of materials as well. So yeah, it spans every industry, really. Anything where you want to get a very accurate 2D pattern from a 3D shape, we can do that for you. So yeah, any other questions that you folks have there? We'd be happy to answer them now.
All right.
Well, looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just like to say that I'll follow up with each individual that's joined the presentation today, just to find out if you have any other questions and find out if ExactFlat has piqued your interest enough to go on to the next step. I'd like to thank you for attending the webinar today. Hope you have a great day, and I'll be talking to you within a couple of days. All right. Thanks very much for attending, and we'll talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.